In this tutorial, we'll add image upload using cloud storage in Firebase and Flutter. Hey guys, and welcome back to part 5 of the Firebase and Flutter series. For today's video, we'll add functionality to our app to upload an image with a post, which will teach us how to use the cloud storage service that Firebase provides. The code that I'll be using as the starting project can be downloaded from fullstacks.com under the Cloud Firestore thumbnail image. You can unzip the package and open it up in your IDE and get the packages while we are setting up the cloud storage on our Firebase console project. You can head over to console.firebase.google.com and go to the compound project. On the left side, the fifth icon from the top, you can click on the Firebase Cloud Storage. When you open this up, you should see a Get Started button in the middle, and then you will have to select your rules, which you can select the default rule set, which is basically saying that if the user is authorized, they can read and write to this storage bucket. That's all the setup needed for the Firebase console, so let's move on to our code setup. Within the code, you can open up the pubspec.yaml file. The first package we'll add is the Firebase Storage package. We'll use version 3.1.1. The second package will be the image picker, which will be a minimum version of 0.6.3 plus 1. Once that is complete, we can start with the implementation of the cloud storage service. Go to the lib folder and under the services folder, create a new file called cloud storage service. And inside this file, we can create a new class called Cloud Storage Service. This cloud, like any of the other services, will wrap the Firebase Storage package so that we don't have dependencies outside of this class on that package. We'll start by creating a new function that returns a future of type Cloud Storage Result, which is a model that we will still create. We'll name the function upload image, and it will have a required file value that's called image to upload. Make sure that you import .io and not .html like I did here in the first few seconds. The second parameter will be the title of the image, which will be a required string value. Then you can go over to the models folder and create a new file called Cloud Storage Result. This file will contain a class with the same name. This model will have a final string property called image URL and another final string property called image file name. Both of these values will be set through the constructor using named parameters. Back in the storage service, we can now import the cloud storage result file, and then we can start the implementation. The first thing we want to do is create the name that the file will take up on the cloud storage. So for us, that will be the title that is passed in plus the milliseconds since epoch value .toString. This will give us a unique value even if the title is the same for multiple posts. To be more specific, in a real-world application, you would put this inside of a folder that is the user's ID. That way you can set up your rules so that you can only write and read from that folder if you are the owner of that folder. Since I covered rules and all of those things, I didn't want to put that into the same video again, so I'm purely doing the upload and the delete of a file onto the cloud storage. The Storage SDK works the same as the Firestore SDK. When you want to create a new document, you first get a reference to it and then you put the data in there after the fact. We'll start by creating a new final value of type storage reference called Firebase Storage Ref. We will then use the Firebase Storage instance and call the ref function on that. Then on that reference, we will call the child function and give it the name of the image file name that we have created. This now gives us a placeholder image for that file where we can then place the image to upload data into that file. Then we will create a new variable of type storage upload task called upload task. This will store the result of calling the put file function on the Firebase storage reference. This function takes in a file from the .io package, and as you see at the top, I imported the file from the .html package instead. So you have to change that and make sure that it is the .io package and not the HTML one. Next up, we will get the storage snapshot, which will allow us to get some information back from the file that has been uploaded. We'll call this variable the storage snapshot, and we will await on the upload task.onComplete function. Then we can finally get the download URL by awaiting on the function getDownloadURL that is found on the reference object on the storage snapshot. We can now check if the upload task has been completed, and if it has, we know that the value in the download URL will not be null, so we can store that in a new variable called URL. And for the result, we will return a new instance of the cloud storage result with the image URL set to the URL and the image file name set to the file name we created at the beginning of the file. And the last thing we want to do is return null so that we can handle on the outside when we know this has failed. Then we can open up the locator file and register our cloud storage service. We can copy the line at the bottom and then change the instance to a cloud storage service. The next thing we'll need for the image upload is to incorporate the library to upload the image itself. We'll create a new folder called utils, and inside we'll create a new file called image selector. So once again, the image selector class will wrap the functionality for the image picker package so that we don't have dependencies on that package anywhere in our code base besides this file. The image selector class will have one function called select image, that is a feature that returns a type file. The body of this function will return the image picker.pickImage function, and will supply the image source.gallery. If you want to take a picture with a camera, you have to supply image source.camera. Then we can open up the locator and we can register the image selector as a lazy singleton. That is all we need for the functionality implementation, and now it's time to move on to our business logic. You can open up the create post view model, and the first thing we'll do is locate the image selector by using our locator. We'll start off by adding the selected image functionality and making provision to display that in the UI as well. You can create a new variable of type file called selected image, and then we'll also expose this variable of type file through a public getter called selected image. Then we can create a function that returns a feature called select image. What this will do is store the result of the select image call on the image selector into a new variable called temp image. When the image selector is cancelled, this value will be null, so we'll check if the value is not null, and if the value is not null, we will set the temp image equal to the selected image private variable and then call notify listeners. This will allow us to show the image inside of the UI whenever it has been selected. The next thing to do is to upload the image before we actually add the post. So at the top of the file, we will now get our cloud storage service instance from our locator. Once we have that, we will create a new variable called cloud storage result, which will be named storage result. And for now, we'll simply check if we are not editing the current post, and that's when we'll perform our upload of the image. We then set the storage result equal to the result of the upload image feature. The image to upload value will be the selected image, and the title will be the title passed in through the function call. Now that we have the storage result, we can set the image URL equal to the storage result.image URL, and we can also set the image file name equal to the storage result.image file name. We still have to create this property, and we'll do that after we have finished this code. And then for the section when editing, we will simply pass the image URL from the editing post into the image URL, and we'll do the same thing for the image file name. This means that currently you can't change the image when editing it, and that's fine. We can add that functionality later if you want to. Then to add the image file name property, you can open up the post model and add a new final string called image file name. We'll pass that in through the constructor, and in the toMap function we can add another property and name it image file name and give it the value of image file name. And in the from map function we can do exactly the same. And the last thing to do for this specific functionality is to add the gesture to show the image picker when we tap on this gray block over here. To show you how it looks, I'm just gonna run the code so that you can see what the gray block is that we're adding the gesture detector to. So if you're on Windows, you can click on the container and press Ctrl-Shift-R and choose Wrap with Widget. For Mac users, that'll be Option, Shift and R. The widget will be a gesture detector, and for the onTap function, we'll simply call the select image function on the model. Then for the displaying of the image itself, for the child of this container, we will now check if the selected image is equal to null, and if it is null, we want to show the text that says tap to add a post. But if it's not null, we want to display an image. We'll use the file constructor and then pass in the selected image. Once the code has been refreshed, you can click on that gray block and you should see the permissions being popped up that ask you for access. Once you grant that access, you can go to your downloads folder if you have images and you can select one of the images. Once selected, you can enter a title, and then when you post this image, it should show up in your cloud storage on the back end now. So as you see, the image is not being displayed in the list item. So our next task will be to show the image that we added. You can open up the pubspec YAML file and we'll add the cached network image package, and we'll use a minimum version of 2.0.0. Once that's downloaded, you can open up the post item file. The first thing we want to ensure is that the post item height is not fixed to 60 when we have an image. So for the height of this container, we will check if the image URL on the post is not equal to null. And if it's not equal to null, meaning that we have an image, we will set the height equal to null. This will allow the container to wrap the height dynamically based on the content that's in its child value. Then for the title text, which is inside the padding of the expanded widget, we will wrap the text in a column. The image will show at the top of this text, so we will check if the image.image URL is not equal to null. And if we have an image, we want to show a sized box with a height of 250. And for the child of the sized box, we will set it to a cached network image. Then just to complete our conditional, if the value is equal to null, we want to set the widget equal to an empty container. For the image URL of the cached network image, we will pass in post.image URL. And for the placeholder value, which is the value that will be shown while it is loading the image, we will supply a builder function that returns a circular progress indicator. And for the error widget, we will supply an icon which will be set to the error icon in the icon spec. The circular progress indicator takes up all the space of its parent. So if you want to make it look nicer and not stretched like it will look in my video, you should put it into a center widget. And if you reload the app now, you'll see a very weird looking circular progress indicator and then the image that we first uploaded. You'll also see the little title at the bottom. Just to do a test, you can click on the fab and open up the create post view, and you can type in follow me on Instagram. You actually should follow me on Instagram. These pictures that you are seeing is from a series that I'm doing where I'm explaining and covering all of the widgets in simple form slides. I would appreciate if you follow me. It is instagram.com/foldstacks. Once you select the image and you click the fab, you'll see that it now loads the image as well as the new title with the post title. And over on the left on the console, you can see the images that has been uploaded. If you refresh the browser, you should see the new images pop up in there. The last thing to do is to add the delete functionality to remove the image when we remove a post from the Firestore database. We'll start with a cloud storage service where we'll create a new function that returns a feature called delete image that takes in a string called image file name. The first thing we'll do is get a storage reference to the image, and we'll store that in a value called Firebase Storage ref. We'll index into the Firebase Storage.instance and call the ref function, and then call the child function and pass it the image file name that we are passing in. Then for the delete functionality, we will wrap that in a try catch statement. Then we will await the call on the Firebase Storage ref where we call the delete function. If anything goes wrong, we will return the exception as a string value. Then you can open up the home view model where we will add our delete functionality into the current delete functionality. We'll start by getting the cloud storage service by using the getIt locator. And then because the posts are real time, we can't delete the post and then delete our image because the post will be gone. So we'll store the current post of the current index into a variable called post to delete. And then we'll use that variable and get the document ID to delete the Firestore post. And then we will use that same post to delete and call the delete image on the cloud storage service and call the image file name and pass that in. I'm just going to remove the existing images so that we can see exactly what's happening when we use this functionality. If you run the app now and you create a new post, you can type in your title, and I'll plug my Instagram again. I'll say follow me on Instagram. I'll use one of the cool slides that I made, and once you upload this, you should see a new post with the image inside. Once it's done, we will refresh the console so that we can see that new image, and once we see that image, we want to use the delete functionality. Once that is complete, you can refresh your console page and you'll see that this file has now been removed from the cloud storage in your console. That's all I wanted to cover for today. Like I said earlier, you can place these images inside of a folder simply by adding a / with the folder name and then a following / in your file name. The Firestore SDK will create that folder for you. This will allow you to add a rule to lock down the ID of the folder so that only the user that has uploaded the image can remove that image. That will be an extra test for you to do. Check out the previous Firestore rules video to get more insight on the rules. And thank you guys for watching this week. I will see you guys next week.